Live from Chicago's NBC5, this is NBC5 News.
Next for us this morning, picking the right drink for New Year's, what to bring as a gift, what to serve your guests, or maybe what to ask to be served. Our expert is in next.
Every time I see your bubbly face, I get the tingles in a silly place. It starts in my toes and I crinkle my nose.
What to imbibe this New Year's Eve? Well, Sarah Fasolino, beverage manager from Morton Steakhouse, is here to give us a rundown on the bubbly. And this is the year where we learned that champagne only comes from the Champagne region of France.
It does.
That's
it does,
the
in fact.
Starting point for learning about
Yes.
champagne. Talk about what we're looking at here. These.
Well, these are. First of all, they come from the Champagne region of France. They can only be, by regulation, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay grapes. So they have very strict regulations in Champagne just to maintain that integrity of the area. So we have vintage champagne. This is the Charles Heidsieck Blanc de Millénaire. It's the 1995 vintage, and basically what that means is that all the grapes come from the 1995 harvest.
So a particularly good harvest. They don't have a vintage champagne for every year.
Every year, no. In fact, the 1995 vintage is a very good vintage, as is the 1996. This wine actually is aged for 10 years before it's even released to the public, which is nice.
Great. Now, these also are French champagnes, but can't be called champagne.
Because they're not from the Champagne region. Exactly. See, these are actually Cremant de Loire. They're from the Loire Valley of France. And instead of the grapes that we mentioned here, this one's actually mostly Chenin Blanc, and this one is actually 100% Cabernet Franc. It's a red grape, so it has a little bit of a pink hue to it.
So is that a matter of keeping the skins in for a little bit of time?
With this one it is, yeah, absolutely.
This beautifully wrapped one, Prosecco, which has become very hot. I think a lot of people think of it as an appetizer.
They do, and it is. It's definitely an aperitif wine. This is from the northeastern region of Italy called Prosecco, and the grape is actually Prosecco as well. But it's very light, fruity, fresh style. Almost, when I taste it, I almost taste like a little bit of powdered sugar with it. But it's very good with like fruit-based appetizers or fruit-based desserts and things like that.
And sparkling wine from the U.S., is that becoming more common? Are more and more people making that here in the U.S.?
It is. And this is actually the Piper Sonoma Brut. Now, in California, you can make sparkling wine out of a lot of different grapes. This particular one uses the exact same grapes as the grapes used in Champagne, but just grown in the Sonoma Valley. So it's lovely.
So how do you pick? If I'm eating a steak, for example.
Well, if you're eating a steak at Morton's, it would be a wonderful thing to, I would do something like this. It's a little bit richer with maybe a New York strip steak, something that's a little bit more minerally and crisp. Like the Bruts there, I would maybe do with a filet.
Is that depending on how much fat is in the meat?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
A New York strip is a richer steak than a filet. The filet is a little bit leaner. This one, the extra dry, is actually, it's kind of a misnomer. It's a little bit sweeter than the Brut. So with something like that, maybe our Cajun ribeye would be lovely. It's got a little bit of heat to it in the sauce, so the sweetness of this wine is really going to offset that and make it a really nice
And they
flavor.
need to find you if they're eating a steak.
Well, absolutely. And I'll walk you through the whole thing.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us, Sarah Fasolino, and Happy New Year a little bit early.
Yes,
as
exactly.
We're talking about champagne. Coming up, why the president and family may want to take up surfing while on vacation. Also,